Hello guys, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be reacting to and reviewing 2023 movie posters. Alright, so basically I've been realizing just how much of an influence movie posters tend to have on my opinion of the entire marketing strategy, or what kind of opinion I form of a film before going in to see it. With that given, I decided to look at some of the biggest movie releases for 2023, those that have been released already and those still yet to come, and just rank and review the main posters, I should say, for those movies. With all that said, it is still a challenge to narrow down 25 to 30 biggest movies of 2023, but I have tried my best and I hope you'll be satisfied with the titles I've chosen. I think they're some of the best movies that will be released this year. Well, not necessarily the best, but some of the biggest movies that will be released this year. Without wasting more time, I'm just gonna get to reviewing them. To make this work, I'm going to be using a tier list. I'll be using excellent, good, okay, and bad. So just 4. Alright, without wasting more time, let's get right into it. The first movie up is Quantumania. When I look at this specific entry, it is a little bit more creative than just the floating heads. I get the sense of it being a sci-fi. I see floating ships. I see the fiery base. I see the main characters. You have the Jonathan Majors is even larger than Paul Rudd. Overall, I think this is a little better than just the standard floating heads posters that we usually get. So I'll give them a point for that in creativity. I like the colors, they speak to me. I see the red, the black, the blue, and the orange. The title in there, Quantumania at the bottom, is very clear. Overall, I'll give Quantumania a pretty solid ranking. It's comic booky. I can see the comic book character on there. Has sci-fi elements to it. It looks very good, very appealing. I will watch this. So Quantumania gets a good ranking. The next movie up is a Super Mario Bros. Movie. Okay, so this one is more like the floating head posters. So very colorful. I like the orange, the green, but it is a floating head poster. Bowser is pretty intimidating here. Like, I'm seeing a theme here. The villains get the bigger representation in the poster. While it is a floating head poster, I still think this is pretty creative enough, and I'll give this okay rating. The next movie up is John Wick 4. They didn't really do much with this. I can see the Eiffel Tower behind. I haven't really watched this movie yet. From the Eiffel Tower, I can tell this movie takes place in France. They probably go to France at some point in the plot. It has John Wick himself on the poster, which has been a consistent theme in chapters 1, 2, and 3. Like, overall, I get a pretty action movie vibe from this poster. Yeah, pretty solid. I like this one. This one goes in the good poster. Next up, Megan. Okay, so I have seen this movie and it was pretty good. From the poster, I get a creepy doll vibe, and it's looking specifically at a subject that is out of focus. But this tells us very obviously that the story is going to be focused on a creepy doll. If you watch those kind of horror movies, you kind of get like the vibe of what it's going for. Overall though, it doesn't really tell us much else. Creepy doll and being jealous and mad at someone or something, which is pretty close to the plot actually. And then you have the name at the very bottom, nicely stylized. Yeah, it conveys exactly the feeling that the filmmakers want you to get upon marketing this film. So I'll give this one an excellent. I like this one a lot. The next movie up is Creed 3. Alright, so on the poster here, we have obviously Jonathan Majors and we have Michael B. Jordan, and they appear to be in a face-off. They have boxing gloves on, so this tells you everything you need to know. It's going to be a sports type of movie. It's a movie about the rivalry between two boxers. I've personally not seen this film this yet, but I can tell from the posters, I can get the vibe of what the movie's about and just what they want to market to me. I think that's a very solid thing from the marketing team for this movie, and overall I'll give this an excellent score. Next up, we have Evil Dead Rise. This was also a not very creative one. I mean, this year we have a lot of good posters. This one is not a floating head as well, so I like it a lot. Overall here we have Evil Dead Rise, the nice title on there. Mommy Loves You to Death. So it's about a mom that goes wrong. You can see her children, she's hugging them with the creepy smile. That is a very sinister smile, so that gives you the horror element already. If you're a fan of the Evil Dead franchise, you know exactly the vibe you're gonna get from this movie. We can really tell exactly what this movie is about. It's about a mom and her trio children. From the phrase "Mommy loves you to death," we know she's going to be terrorizing her children, which is tragic. In terms of color, this is not a very colorful poster, but it's very creative. So I'll give this an excellent. Okay, the next movie up is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This poster is actually pretty creative. It falls under the floating head category, but I think it's pretty creative still. We have Miles Morales upside down in the poster with his suit being partially torn up, which tells you this is going to be a trying movie for him. And then the poster itself, we have members of the Spider Society who are against Miles on the left, and members of the Spider Society who are for Miles on the right. So you have Spider-Gwen, Hobie. Overall, I think this poster is a very creative one, actually. I will give this an excellent. I think it's very well done. The next movie up is Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves. This poster is actually pretty creative. I like the circle of friends. I've watched this movie, and so I know exactly what this is all about. But I'm just going to judge the poster based on how I felt when I first saw it. First things first, I like the way the friends are shaped in a circle and around the poster. I don't think I've seen any poster like this all year. Honor Among Thieves is definitely giving the vibes of an outcast or misfit group of friends that are going on an adventure. So if you have any remote idea what Dungeons and Dragons is like, you know instantly what this is going to be like. I wouldn't say this is an excellent poster, but I like this enough that I'll give it a good. The next movie up is Cocaine Bear. I have to say, this might be the craziest, well, not the craziest, but one of the most creative ones I've seen so far. You should have an image of a bear in black and white photo looking coked out and hawking out, essentially. This conveys everything I need to know about the film. I haven't watched this yet, but I get a clear image of what this movie is going to be like just by looking at that poster, and that's everything in an excellent poster. So for that reason alone, it's simple yet very effective. I think this is an excellent poster. Alright, the next movie up is Scream 6. Scream 6 is a floating head poster. You have the Scream mask behind fitted with the sky, and then you have the heads of all the cast members. Overall, this is alright. It'll work. I don't think it's particularly a standout. It's not particularly creative to me either. I haven't seen the movie. All I know is, well, there's gonna be a mask and we're gonna see his characters in there. It doesn't tell me much about the movie. I'll put this in the bad category. I feel this is a pretty bad poster, honestly. So we just met the first bad poster, in my opinion. Do you guys think I judged it too harshly? The next one up is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Poster is interesting. We have Tom Cruise in the air. We have a motorcycle falling down, so we know he dives off a cliff. It's Tom Cruise doing something insane, crazy, bombastic, as usual in his Mission Impossible franchise. It's a part 1 as well, so this is telling me it's gonna be probably a cliffhanger at the end of the story. Overall, I think it's pretty solid, so I won't put this as bad. I'm just gonna put this as okay. I think this belongs in the okay rank. Alright, the next movie up is Shazam. I think this movie poster is pretty bad, just by looking at it, honestly. Okay, so we have the main character front and center. We have Shazam, Fury of the Gods, the title for the movie on the poster itself. We have the different characters off with their floating heads on the side. We have them again at the very bottom. Different versions of I'm guessing the character himself, Shazam. To the very left of the image, we have some kind of lighting. All I know is this is a comic book movie. I'm not sure what the vibe of this is supposed to be. I think it's a pretty poor poster. There's the actor for Shazam. It's not really a box office draw, so I don't know why he's just front and center. I think this is not really telling me a lot about the movie itself. It's pretty uninspired. So overall, I'm going to give this poster a fail. It just goes in the bad poster rank. Okay, the next movie up is Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This movie poster, I've seen the movie. This movie is actually one of my favorite MCU movies of all time. We don't actually have the characters fully shown in frame. We just have their silhouettes. They're together on the end of the ship, taking a picture with the sunset behind. The sunset behind and the purple lighting gives me the vibe of One Last Ride. You know, the friends are about to go to have one more adventure before they set off into the sunset. That's the vibe I get from this poster alone, just by looking at this poster specifically. Which is, I see the planets in the background. The planet tells me this is a movie set in space. You have the title of the poster, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 on there as well. This is one of the best. I've not seen anything like this. Overall, an excellent poster. I like this one a lot. Alright, the next movie is Beau is Afraid. For this movie, I have not seen it yet. It's from Ari Aster. It's one of my favorite directors. He had directed Midsommar and Hereditary. He's a very, very, very creative and inventive director. His stuff is just really crazy. I haven't watched this movie yet though. It is, in the sense, I find it very distinctly creative because it's a floating head poster of the same character at different stages of his life, essentially. So 4 stages of life here. Most of it played by Joaquin Phoenix, and he has a younger child actor. Overall, despite this being a floating head poster, I think this is pretty solid. The title says Beau is Afraid, so about how Beau is fearful of something at different stages of his life. It doesn't really tell me much else though. So while this gives me some critical and valuable information about the movie, it doesn't really tell me too much more else about the movie. I'm going to put this in my opinion, okay. Up next is Fast and Furious Fast X. Okay, so this movie poster is pretty bad. It's a floating head poster. I'm not a fan of floating head posters like that. This one's just Vin Diesel, whoever else is starring with him. And then on the bottom, you have Brazil and a bunch of cars that are about to race with a race. Someone holding a racing flag. That is not very interesting to me. It doesn't tell me a lot. This movie is no longer just about racing, so I'm gonna need a little more. All I know is that Vin Diesel is the main character, and X comes from the fact that it's the 10th film in the franchise. It doesn't really tell me much else. So overall, this is a pretty bad poster, in my opinion. This goes in the bad category. Next up, we have Transformers Rise of the Beast. So we have Unite or Fall as one of the phrases for the poster as well. Rise of the Beast. We have two characters in particular are very noticeable here. I'm guessing those are two of the main Transformers. You have Optimus Prime and Optimus Primal, I believe. I've never really watched a Transformers movie, so I'm guessing based on what I've heard so far, those are the two main characters featured in the poster here that I can see. It says Unite or Fall, so this is about one last stand. You can see some of the Transformers with the wing in there, something like a bumblebee on the side. If you're a Transformers fan, this tells you a lot about the movie already. Overall, it's pretty solid actually, so this goes in the okay. Next up, we have The Little Mermaid. This poster has stars front and center Halle Bailey as the Little Mermaid herself. It's by Disney. It says Little Mermaid on the bottom. It's a pretty colorful picture as well. We have the blue, the green, the orange mixed in there. You have some of the characters in the sort of fit into the background. Her dad. I've seen this movie. It's a pretty good movie. Overall, I think this is a solid poster. It stars Halle Bailey's front and center. The main draw to you is Halle Bailey. It's not like they're trying to educate you on what exactly it's all about. A lot of people, this is a remake, so they didn't feel the need to go as hard from here. Because I've watched the movie and I know the movie is a romance. I feel a better poster for this would have sort of featured the prince as well, just to give the dynamic of what this is all about. I'll put this on okay. I'm not impressed. Next up, we have Elemental. From the poster itself, this movie is yet to come, so not many people have seen this. From this, I can tell this is a love story. It's going to be about wacky opposite attracting. You have the fire girl and the water boy. They're looking at each other, sort of in a cheeky way. So it's definitely a romance, lots of bombastic art styles. You know, typical Pixar. It's pretty creative. So I'll give this a good poster, actually. Okay, next up, we have Oppenheimer. And my goodness, I have to say, this might be one of the most creative posters on here. Okay, so you have Cillian Murphy himself wearing his goggles, probably watching the reaction of an atomic bomb outside the window. And you can sort of see the exposure on his face. It gives mad scientist energy. It's very creative. I like the colors. It pops out. It jumps at you. I see this and I'm immediately intrigued as to what might be going on here. So overall, I'll give this a very solid rating. This is actually a very easy one for me. This is excellent. Excellent. I think Christopher Nolan and his team did a really excellent job with the poster here. The next movie up is The Flash. From the poster, I see the Batman, I see the Flash, and I see Supergirl. They're all staring off into something that I do not know. Yeah, that's it. I can't really tell much else about this movie. This is based on the Flashpoint stories, but I'm just judging what I see on here. This poster itself doesn't give me a lot. So for that reason, I'm gonna have to put this on the bad, actually. One of the poorest ones I've seen here. Not creative or inventive. Okay, next up we have Indiana Jones. So for this one, we have a floating head poster. Already docked some points for that. I'm not a fan of floating head posters. Supposed villain in the background. Indiana Jones himself is the biggest of all the bunch, as he's the main character. Then his goddaughter, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, actually. She's really brilliant, and I can't wait to actually see this movie. But from the Cannes reviews, I'm hearing this movie is pretty bad. But we'll see when it comes out. But overall, I think they have something solid here. You have the villain. It's just giving classic Indiana Jones vibes. I'm intrigued. I think this one's pretty solid. I'll give this an okay. Next up, we have the Barbie movie. It's just a big B, a blue sky, and we have the main stars, Ken by Ryan Gosling and Barbie herself by Margot Robbie. I have to say, this might be some of the bottom of the barrel posters I've seen so far. This is not particularly creative, in my opinion. It doesn't tell me much about the story. It just tells me, well, it's Barbie. Not much else. I can't really tell much else about this movie. This is a poor poster. definitely goes in the bad ranking. Not much else to say here. Again, I should preface, when I say it's a bad poster, I'm not saying the movie is bad. I haven't seen this movie. I'm judging based on how much information about a movie I'm able to glean from the poster itself. Killers of the Flower Moon. Overall, this poster is pretty creative. One of the most creative ones we've seen so far. You have the man, the woman, they just finished eating dinner. It appears to be an intense scene. She's just looking at him for some reason. This sets the vibe for the movie. This is going to be an intense movie. It's going to include the dynamic between the man here and the woman here. It's going to be primarily very character based. From what I'm seeing, it's a very intimate scene as well. I believe this is based on a book. Overall, very solid. I'll give this a good rating. Okay, next up we have Blue Beetle. I think this might be dead last in terms of all the posters I've seen so far. It's actually laughably bad. It's just a Blue Beetle with the DC logo, only in theaters in August. It doesn't tell me much. Based on this poster, I'm predicting this movie is going to flop, and it's going to flop hard. This poster is uninspired, zero creativity, and just really bad. Just based on this poster, I'm not interested in this movie, honestly. Bad. They didn't even try. This is terrible. Okay, the next movie up is The Marvels. This poster is actually pretty creative. I haven't seen the movie yet, so I don't know. Very colorful. We have 3 women here. The main character is front and center in the frame. That's Carol Danvers herself, played by Brie Larson. You have Iman Vellani at the very bottom standing, and she's shrouded in the orange. You have Captain Marvel herself with the purple setting, and then you have Captain Rambo in the blue setting. It's a very colorful poster. It's very eye-popping. I think this is actually pretty solid. The way the colors melt into each other, this gives the energy that these characters are going to be in a way intertwined, like they're going to be directly tied to each other, and I'm interested in seeing just how that turns out. So overall, I'll give this, I'll put this under good. Very, very eye-catching. The next movie up is Dune Part 2, and my goodness, you have the orange sun or planet in the background, sort of the haze of the sand from at the very bottom of their feet. Paul Atreides, played by Timothée Chalamet, and Shani, played by Zendaya, standing with Chris knife in both of their hands. So this is telling us it's going to be about their love story for sure. Just the way this is framed gives an epic feel to it. I get the idea that this is going to be an epic and a romance all in the same. I like the color scheme as well. The color scheme is creative, very good. It gives off that distinct Dune vibe. So overall, I quite like the poster as well, but it's not exceptional, so I won't put it under excellent. I'll put this under good. Okay, the next movie up, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That title is a handful. A mouthful, I should say. But overall, very colorful. It's eye-catching to me right from the get-go. It features 2 characters, so I'm guessing this is standing back to back, so like they're 2 sides of a coin. I'm not really sure what the premise of this is about. I haven't really delved too deep into the Hunger Games franchise, but overall from this poster, I'm intrigued. You have sort of the golden songbirds, you have some of the golden snakes around the picture. I think this is actually pretty creative for a poster. It tells me that this movie is centered around those 2 characters. Everyone hungers for something, so if you know Hunger Games, you know sort of the vibe you're gonna get, even if you haven't. But just from reading the words on the poster itself, everyone hungers for something. This is giving the energy that this is gonna be about some kind of dystopia where they're gonna be fighting for something. It doesn't really give me much else, but this is pretty solid. I'll give this a good rating. The last movie, but not the least, is Aquaman 2. It's very colorful. You have the white, blue, orangish background. You have Mira, the red head, the green. There also the gold breastplates, kind of shirts. The green, just Momoa staring to distance. Overall, it's a pretty solid poster. Why this might be similar to the previous one we just did from the Hunger Games, I feel this one specifically might be a step below, because this feels a little more generic. I've seen very many posters like this just for superhero movies. It doesn't tell me much about the story itself. There's no extra words, just says Aquaman. Why this is not bad, it's very eye-catching as well, but I won't put this on the good. This is okay. Those are my rankings. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the posters. I gave excellent scores. I gave Megan, Creed, Evil Dead Rise, Spider-Verse, Cocaine Bear, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Oppenheimer an excellent score. And for good, I gave Quantumania, John Wick, Dungeons & Dragons, Elemental, Killers of the Flower Moon, The Marvels, Dune 2, and Hunger Games a good score. For okay, I give the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Mission Impossible, Beau is Afraid, Transformers Rise of the Beasts, The Little Mermaid, Indiana Jones, and Aquaman. And for bad, I gave Barbie, Blue Beetle, The Flash, Fast X, Shazam, and Scream 6. 6 out of 28 were bad. Most of the others were really good. Overall, these were a pretty solid set of posters. It's pretty hard to put together a good poster to represent the entire movie. I understand the challenge with that. The challenge of doing that is not lost to me. Take this with a grain of salt. Do not take it too hard. If I rated the ones you like a little lower, let me know in the comments. You can argue with me, challenge my opinion. I'm free and open to that. Thank you guys for listening to my opinion and watching this video. I'll see you guys next time. Have a good day.